We've got breaking news on today's show. Adam Schefter just reported the Baltimore Ravens will be hiring Declan Doyle to be their next offensive coordinator, making his way to the Charm City from the Windy City as he served as the OC under Ben Johnson in the 2025 season for the Chicago Bears. We told you just about 2 to 3 hours ago this could happen any second now. And ladies and gentlemen, we were right. That's exactly why you can hit that subscribe button. And additionally, whenever breaking news happens, we get you a video out as quickly as possible. Lock us in. Subscribe to the channel. Daily coverage of your Baltimore Ravens right here at the Ravens Rundown. So Declan Doyle is going to be the new play caller for the Baltimore Ravens and for first-time head coach Jesse Minter. It took him about 8 days to get this thing locked down, to get a new OC in the building. But now that they do, I am sure they will begin firing off on the rest of the assistants on the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about Declan Doyle for a half second, okay? Because there's some things that make me really, really excited about this move. There also are some things that make me a little bit nervous about this move, okay? Number one, I really love the fact that he has learned over the last 3 seasons, and really before that, even in New Orleans, under 2 of the best offensive minds in the National Football League, in Sean Payton and then in Ben Johnson as well. I think that is experience that you cannot pay for, right? That is teaching, that is knowledge that can only be gained from working directly under those 2 guys. 2 of the best offensive minds that the NFL has to offer. One who's a little bit older, one who's a little bit younger. You get both sides of the spectrum. Declan Doyle has been right next to those guys for the last 6 years. And with Ben Johnson specifically for this last season. In fact, Ben Johnson handpicked Declan Doyle to come to Chicago with him and be his offensive coordinator. But I do got to address that topic, and that's kind of where it's going to lead me into something that I might be a little bit more wary about. Is the fact that he is going to be a first-time play caller. He is going to be a first-time offensive coordinator. Now, I am not here to criticize his ability to do that. I'm not one to say, whether or not I believe Declan Doyle can be a good play caller in the National Football League. But to me, that's the thing is we don't know. And it feels like in this coaching staff, there's going to be a lot of we don't know. Right? You got a first-time head coach. Most likely going to have a first-time defensive coordinator as well. I don't know if I love the fact that you're going to have a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time play caller on staff as well. Because when you've never been a head coach before in the National Football League like Jesse Minter, and you are also balancing being a head coach and being a defensive coordinator, you want to be able to kind of turn the offense over to a guy who you can fully trust to run it from top to bottom. And I'm not saying Declan Doyle can't be that guy because Ben Johnson fully trusted Declan Doyle with so many things in the 2025 season. But then again, Declan Doyle didn't also have to call plays. So, that's my only gripe with this move. That's the only thing that I would push back on with this move is he's joining a staff of a bunch of first-time guys, and he himself kind of fits that mold as well. Other than that, man, I think it's a really, really great swing. I told you earlier today, it kind of felt like it was down between Davis Webb and Declan Doyle, and I would have preferred Declan Doyle over Davis Webb 10 times out of 10. I think what he has gained in his NFL coaching career, it cannot be valued, it cannot be quantified, and I cannot wait to see it take place in shape. He's also a big reason that you saw a really massive jump in success from Caleb Williams. Obviously, Ben Johnson's a bigger part of that, but Declan Doyle's right there, man. Declan Doyle was right there every single step of the way. I love the risk. I do. I love that Jesse Minter came out there and has low-key made a statement with this hire. Say, look, I get it. I'm a first-time head coach, but guess what? I don't care. I see a strong offensive mind. I want him on my staff. I want him to be my play caller. Another thing that I'm a little bit interested about is how does this affect Lamar? Does this affect Lamar? I don't think that they would have hired an offensive coordinator in the same breath as I had that opinion with head coach, if Lamar Jackson was like, no, okay? If Lamar Jackson straight up told them, I do not want Declan Doyle, I don't think they would have hired Declan Doyle. And I know the report came out about a week ago that Lamar Jackson, quote, really, really wanted Cliff Kingsbury. Like, who's to say, A, if that was true, B, if that was blown a little bit out of proportion, and C, we don't know how Lamar feels about Declan Doyle. Like, Lamar could have heard Declan Doyle in these interviews over the last week or so, or his interview over the last couple of days, and be like, yeah, man, I'm good with that. They're both 29, which I think is objectively hilarious. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays itself out. But, man, you've got a guy who's learned under Sean Payton and the Sean Payton offense. You've got a guy who's learned under Ben Johnson and the Ben Johnson offense. And now I think what would be beneficial for this team is to surround Doyle and that offensive staff with a bunch of veterans. Now, you've already done that on the offensive line with Dwayne, right? And even with Flaherty, his assistant. Trust them wholeheartedly to run the offensive line, be the run game coordinator, all that stuff. Now when it comes to wide receivers coach, running back coach, things like that, tight ends coach, I kind of am of the opinion, okay, let's get some vets to kind of help Doyle along the way as he is picking up some new responsibilities. Grade the hire for me. Down below in the comment section, Gage, we'll get to those quotes in a second. I do want to hear from you guys, though. Give it an A, B, C, D, or F down below. I'm gonna give it a 90. It's an A minus, but it's close to being a B plus. But man, it could be easily go up to an A plus, depending on what he does in 2026. Real quickly, I do got to give a word to our awesome sponsor, our great friends over at Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Missing your fantasy team? My league is already over, but with Prize Picks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft to keep playing fantasy. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week, even in the playoffs. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections every week, no draft required. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports picks app. Here's my Prize Picks lineup for the big game. I got the more on Cooper Kupp receiving yards, less on JSN receiving yards, and give it less on Ramondre Stevenson, 50.5 rushing yards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So we talked a lot of Declan Doyle and Davis Webb, right? One of the things I also preferred, Doyle over Webb, was we got to think of the fact that Davis Webb was getting head coach looks. Still is getting head coach looks. I mean, there's a chance still he lands a Las Vegas Raiders job. Or wait, no, he pulled himself out of that last night, right? Never mind. He was getting head coach looks this cycle, right? The Baltimore Ravens interviewed him to be their head coach. The Las Vegas Raiders and multiple other different teams did as well. So what that means, if he was getting head coach looks when he was just the quarterback's coach and pass game coordinator for the Broncos, if he would have taken over as offense coordinator for the Ravens and the Ravens would have had a great year, I guarantee you he would have been getting looks and would have gotten a job as a head coach next year. And I do think Jesse Minter took that into consideration when he was looking at those two guys. Say, look, with Doyle, we might just have a little bit more time with him. He's 29. Even if this team, even if this offense absolutely hums in 2026 with Declan Doyle at the wheel, he'll be 30 next year. Is somebody going to take a chance on a 30-year-old head coach? Do they believe he's a Sean McVay kind of future guy? I don't know. We'll see. But Ben Johnson's had nothing but great things to say about Declan Doyle. He said, look, Dec's done a phenomenal job this year. He's everything I thought he was going to be and then some. He's got a tremendous presence in front of the players, extremely smart. I think the future's bright for a guy like Declan. Hopefully we can keep him here for a long time. I'm just so excited about this move for Baltimore and just the breath of fresh air that it's going to be. I mean, think about what's been on your sidelines. Obviously, you've had John Harbaugh there forever. John Harbaugh feels like he's ancient, right? You had Greg Roman, then you had Todd Monken, two guys that are old in their own rights as well. No offense to my dad, who's just about their age. Now you got Jesse Minter, who's 42. You've got Declan Doyle, who's 29. Both of those guys' age combined is like less than a decade older than John Harbaugh. And I think it's just fun to have fresh faces, fresh ideas, a younger look at the National Football League. And I think if you look at head coaching hires across the NFL over the last couple of decades, like going younger, sure, it hasn't worked at times, but there also has been a decent amount of times where it has worked really well. D'Amico Ryans with the Houston Texans. Mike McDonald, he's younger than Jesse Minter is. Obviously, it worked out for the Los Angeles Rams when they hired Sean McVay about a decade ago, okay? So going with these guys who have really, are really standing out in their own areas across the NFL, I like it, man. It's fun. It's risky. I will tell you that. I told you that from minute 2. This is a risk. We talked a lot about Cliff Kingsbury possibly getting this job as well. I always said Cliff's floor is a lot higher than a guy like Declan Doyle. But Declan's ceiling might be a lot higher, right? Declan might just fit this offense better. Cannot wait to see what he brings to the table, man. What's your one-word reaction to this hire? Let me know down below in the comments section. I think mine is exciting, okay? That's mine. I want to hear yours. Real quickly, before we get out of here, we did see this on Twitter, or X. Justin Namdi Mervike tweeted out good news with the prayer hand emojis. So, I don't know what that means. I can only hope it means that his career in the National Football League is not over, okay? If you know anything about what happened to Namdi, first 2 weeks of the season was playing unbelievable, tweaked his neck against the Cleveland Browns, missed the rest of the year, and a lot of people kind of anticipated, because it was a serious neck injury, that there's a chance he does not play again. In fact, even when coaches were asked about it, John Harbaugh, Zach Orr, it always kind of felt like it was dicey and dodgy. Hopefully this means that that's not the case. All right, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials. And if we are the first place you saw this, got to make sure you subscribe to the channel.